Hello everyone, this is DM Gashbad. Today I'm going to be bringing you Game 1 of the 2018 Batman miniature game Gotham City Circuit Championships. So the Gotham City Circuit is a series of events that we held throughout California. I think there were a total of 3 events leading up to this final one. I've gone to 2 of them, but now we're back for the final one at Great Escape Games in Sacramento. We've got a lot to get through, lots of stuff to say and show you guys, so let's get straight into it. Now, the first thing that I had to do was I had to decide what kind of crew I was going to bring to this event. Now, I've been running my Green Arrow crew. I actually won one of the earlier events at KublaCon through luck and honestly lack of attendance, but I did win that one with my Green Arrow crew, and of course, the team's rules had just come out, so we had the Secret Society, we had the Team Arrow group. I did honestly look at those, but I felt like I ran Arrow recently. I wanted to try something new. I do have my Two-Face crew, and I do want to get back to those guys, but again, my concern is that it's a larger Horde-style crew, and in a tournament, I'm kind of a slow player. Just in general, I'm kind of a slow player, and of course, I'm taking photos for these battle reports, so I didn't want to, I didn't want to put pressure on how much time that I had to play with a larger crew, so I wanted to go with something a little bit more compact. I've got a brave and bold crew, but I haven't exactly painted everything that I want to use in that, and I've got a small League of Shadows crew, but again, I've kind of sworn off Deathstroke, and Deathstroke is a key component to that, so I don't want to bring that. So actually, I went back to my Fire and Ice crew. My Fire and Ice crew I've only run once before, and it didn't do fantastic. The crew has some limitations. But on the other hand, it is new. I haven't played it very much. It is small, so I shouldn't have a problem getting more turns in a game. And honestly, I don't know. I've been looking at some of the lists that people are posting. The championship game took place at the same time as the Renegade, which is a really big tournament happening in Minnesota. And I got to see a lot of people lists for those events. And it looks like elite crews are kind of back. So lots of heroes, lots of high defense, lots of acrobats, that kind of thing. And honestly, for something like that, this crew is not bad. It's got some accurate firepower. Fire is good against people because you don't need to roll to hit for it. I got a lot of stuff that goes around pings. So honestly, this group might not be bad. It does have some real limitations in that the models have to work together, and it's a lot harder to get your stuff to work together as opposed to having one model, say a Deathstroke or a Constantine or something like that, that can do the job all on his own. Coordinating models with all the things that can happen between the alternating activations and just the random stuff that happens in a game, it can be tricky. Yeah, so I don't think I'm gonna do great. I did win the championship last year, if you haven't seen those battle reports. Spoiler alert, I did win that and I was absolutely thrilled. Did I deserve to win it? No. We call this the championship, but you don't actually have to prove yourself in any way. Last year I showed up, it was like my second tournament that I'd ever gone to, and I did, through luck and such things, end up winning. But I didn't, it's not like you have to win an event in order to attend this kind of thing. Now this year I actually did win an event, so I am kind of, do I deserve to be there? Maybe. Who knows? Do I deserve to win again? I don't know, but if I do, that'd be great. I've been introducing myself all year as California's #1 Batman, and it would sure be nice to continue to do that into the new year. But I don't have a lot of faith in this crew. I'm going to try and take a more easygoing approach to this. I don't want to be too competitive. You know what, though? I've rambled enough already. We have a lot to get to. Let's get to the actual crew itself. So first of all, I have Captain Cold leading the crew. Now, I went with a Mr. Freeze crew. I know I could do the Secret Society of supervillains or whatever. I could actually bring almost these exact same models in that kind of crew, but I decided against that. First off, I think the Society crew works best when you have a lot of leaders working together. And honestly, I don't have any leaders. I've got sidekicks and free agents, but no leaders. So a lot of the benefits you get from that team, you're not going to get here. And the other big reason that I didn't bring a Society crew is because you don't have access to a lot of the gear that you would normally get, especially since I don't have leaders to bring that gear into the crew list. So the big thing is I couldn't get the cool generator in the secret society team. So I just stuck with a Mr. Freeze crew. And leading that, we have Captain Cold. Captain Cold is a sidekick. He's going to function as the boss. He is not bad, really. He's got a lot of before-game benefits. He's actually fairly survivable. He teams up well with Heatwave, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Really, the main thing about Captain Cold, the drawback to that guy, is that his gun, while it's really good, it's a beam weapon, double blood, 2 rate of fire, it's got all kinds of great rules for it, it's got lots of ammo, it's accurate, he has ranged master. The thing is, the rate of fire 2 means that he's really only likely to do 2 blood a round, which, while not bad, he's reliably going to put 2 blood on a round. It doesn't really set the world on fire. He's not going to take out a person all by himself. But speaking of setting the world on fire, that's why we have brought my 2 free agents. I have brought Heatwave over there. Heatwave is really great with his flamethrower. He's got tons of endurance. He's okay in hand-to-hand combat. And of course, he has teamwork with Captain Cold, which I really do like. And I took Firefly. Firefly I've only used once before. Thing about this is a lot of these guys have gotten revisions in the new cards. So they got re-released in Resins, they got new cards, so I'm going to be using those. The big change is that instead of having the different bands of damage for Firefly and Heatwave, they now have a single band and it does blood stun, which is, it's good. It's a good change. It does help them. It does actually knock them both down in price and funding a little bit. The irony is that I couldn't actually use that. They went down in rep, but I couldn't think of anything I wanted to upgrade or add in that would eat up that rep amount. Same with the funding. The Mr. Freeze crew does not have a lot of cheap items that you can just drop on somebody for the heck of it. You know, I just couldn't eat up like that extra $100 worth of funding that I found myself with. So honestly, this is almost the exact same crew as was in my previous battle report. So the new resin rules I'm using, but besides eliminating the bands of damage for Heatwave and Firefly, there's no change. But anyway, I also took another sidekick, that's Killer Frost. Again, the idea is that I'm going to have the stop freeze rule coordinating with the fire counters that I'm hopefully going to be handing out with Firefly and Heatwave to really make the damage from these flamethrowers stick. My first henchman over there on the left, that's my bodyguard prisoner. Bodyguard prisoner, he of course can bodyguard sidekicks, of which I have 2, and I've also gave him the cool generator. So he's garbage in combat, but hopefully he can just hang out near my sidekicks, take hits for them if he needs to, and throw that stop rule on people, which really is the main reason this guy's around. I also have pipe prisoner. Pipe prisoner is 10-point prisoner, and that's all there is to it. I got a cheap body on the field, because otherwise it's kind of a small crew. Of course, I should say at this point, we're using the legacy rules, I think it is, where we get to use the old models. We're not restricted to just the new releases with the resin. So I got a bunch of old models in here, one of which is Little Spark. Little Spark cost the same as new High Security, and honestly, with the rep that I had left over, I could have dropped in the old High Security, which I do have. I do have him painted, and he's really, really good. But you know what? I haven't used Little Spark very much. I do like the paint job on the guy. His rules are good. You know, he's got a lot of good stuff going for him. He's got a handy double stun mechanical stun baton. He's unpredictable, which means that he can use specials for whatever he likes. But every time I've used him, he has not shown, and I really feel that he can. I want to put him in this crew again because I think he's got untapped potential that I haven't been able to capitalize in thus far. So I've got confidence in Little Spark. Little Spark is going into the crew. Anyway, that's enough rambling for now. Let's get straight on into the first game. Okay, here we are at round 1, and as you can see, this is my Joker's Wild casino table. I provided some of the terrain for some of these things. Now I'm going to give you guys a heads up right away. We did not get through all 6 turns. We were a little crunched for time, and that is 100% my fault. As I said, I am kind of a slow player, and I am taking pictures for these battle reports, but the main reason is that why we lost a little bit of time in the beginning was because I was setting up these tables and I'm putting everything out and I'm like, man, these terrain pieces aren't filling up as much of the table as I thought they would. Oh well. So we start playing, we start setting up for the scenario, and we start measuring things out, and we're almost all the way through deployment when I realize, hey, wait a minute. I know why these measurements aren't working out quite right, because I'm using a 4x4 table instead of a 3x3 table. I took I took my 4x4 boards in addition to my 3x3 boards, and I used the wrong one for this table. So all of a sudden we have to scramble around. I have to redraw the lines and shuffle terrain pieces about, and we have to redo some of our deployment, which is a huge drag. It is entirely my fault. It was just kind of a bonehead as far as that goes. So I apologize to my opponent. So oops. Anyway, the scenario that we're going to be playing is looting, and that's the one where you've got two strips in the center and you have to cross over each other, and those are where all your objectives go. I like this one. It's a nice everybody fight in the middle kind of thing, and I am going to be fighting against a League of Assassins crew. This is going to be a League of Assassins crew run by a player that I have played against before. He is from Las Vegas, so he made the long trip up to Northern California from Vegas, him and another guy, and he is who I fought in round 1 of the Kublai Khan game. So he is a kind of a well-known Batman miniature game tournament runner and player down south. I think he was looking forward to the rematch because he was really, really unlucky in that last game that we played, and I think he wanted a chance to bring this exact same crew and run it against me again. We'll go into what was in his crew when we take a look at the deployment. But first off, we're looking at my deployment right there. So for strategies, I went and picked Fast Advance and 2 patrols. Now, Captain Cold is a strategist, so I get an extra strategy point. However, Ra's al Ghul, the new rebirth Ra's al Ghul, is on the other side of the table, and he has the exhaustive planner trait, which means he gets to cancel one. So what I really wanted was Fast Advance, because I wanted to extend my deployment zone. I wanted to get really close to those central objectives so that I can claim 2 of them as soon as I can and get those bonus victory points. Now, I also pretty much knew that I wasn't going to get Fast Advance. I had a strong suspicion that my opponent was going to use the Exhaustive Planner to cancel it. So I figured, well, what can I do? I can go and I can pick 2 patrols, and I can get some of my guys up there a little bit closer, and maybe that'll help mitigate that. I probably should have gone with just all single point strategies, and so that he could cancel 1, but it wouldn't be that big a deal. I still wouldn't get my Fast Advance, but I wasn't going to get that regardless, so that probably would have been a better option. Anyway, you can see in the upper left, Killer Frost has patrolled forward a little bit, so she's way up on the left. She's pretty independent. She's going to basically be putting her adaptable into defense, making her defense 5, which makes her pretty survivable, so I wasn't too worried about her so long as Ra's himself didn't come over there. Little Spark is right in the center. He got my other patrol, so he's far forward. He's got Unpredictable, so he can really put on a lot of movement for kind of a guy who's got some weight issues. So good for him. Hopefully he can run forward and grab one of my objectives as well. Then in the center we have Firefly and the Bodyguard Prisoner. Bodyguard Prisoner, I really want to get up there and start using that cool generator to stop some of his guys. Then we have Heatwave and Captain Cold over there on the right, as well as the Pipe Prisoner. Pipe Prisoner is looking over at that manhole cover. He's looking at using the sewers and try to get to one of my objectives that I tried to inconspicuously place way over on the right, where I thought no one would go and bother him. But right away I have a problem with that because I have gone and forgotten everything that I might have learned about this crew from my last game. In my last game I played against this crew, we did Race for Glory, and I was a little bit shocked because he took 2 of his ninjas and he used basically Hidden to position them right up next to his objective so that he could claim them from round 1. And I totally forgot about that. Honestly, I'd like to say that I was thinking looting, it's all in the center, I'm not going to have a problem getting to everybody. But really, I just didn't think about it at all. I didn't consider, even though I was considering doing it, I didn't consider that he was going to put his objectives someplace where I was not going to be, and then drop 2 of his guys over by them where I was not well positioned, because my guys don't operate independently. It's not like I could go and send one guy and go beat them all up. These guys work as a group. So what you're looking at here is on the extreme right-hand side of the board, he has got his ammo and his medical supplies, and he has placed Goro, who is using the hidden rule, and he has placed Shadow, that's the ninja with the bow staff and the smoke grenade. And I'm thinking Shadow probably moved up as far as he did through a combination of my opponent taking the fast advance strategy, so his deployment zone gained an extra couple of inches, which is what I wanted, but I didn't get. He got it instead, and he also took patrol on that guy. guy. So the patrol on Shadow is probably a strategy, and Goro has been given the hidden rule through a piece of equipment, and he also has a grapple gun. Here are the rest of my opponent's crew members. At the very bottom we have Ki. Ki is the new League of Assassins archer with the acid arrow. Then up there we have Ichi. He is the new resin katana ninja. Up ahead of him we have Ying. He's one of the older metal ninjas. Then we have Rebirth Ra's al Ghul. Right above him we have Yang, who's another one of the older metal ninjas with katanas. I think he has the combo katana. And patrolled just a bit forward we have Seeker, who is the old poison arrow guy. So you can see my Titan objective right in front of the mouth of the Joker's Wild Casino. I've also got my meds and my ammo underneath that awning. So he has a Titan container. You can see that just off to the right a little bit, kind of behind that car. Otherwise, his meds and his ammo are off to the right where Goro and Shadow snuck forward. So again, I was planning on putting my meds over on the right so that Pipe Prisoner could sneak over and grab those. But as soon as I saw him deploying those high-value objectives over on the right, I remembered what was going to happen, and I thought, well, that's not good. I'm not gonna... Sending Pipe Prisoner over there isn't gonna work. So I put all my objectives kind of in the center, and I said, well, let's see what we can do here. Honestly, I probably have already lost the game. I don't see myself being able to overcome the victory point gap that's going to accumulate really quickly with two of his guys sitting on those objectives from the very beginning. But I thought, well, my best shot is to make it a really big fight in the middle. So I put all my objectives there, and I thought, if I can kill off those ninjas and Ra's, and honestly, with all that fire and cold, I might be able to do it. Ra's is tough, you know, that defense 5 is brutal. However, if I get the jump on him with some of those flamethrowers, then honestly, I think that my chances are not bad. And certainly with my strength concentrated over there, you know, it could happen. And the ninjas honestly don't worry me that much. So I'm in a bad spot, but there may be a way forward for me. We'll see. So we go into the Bag of Destiny to see who takes the lead, and I believe both Ra's and Captain Cold are masterminds, so we each get a counter extra in the bag, so it should be about even. Anyway, he draws the first counter, and I believe he makes me go first. So I go ahead and I activate Pipe Prisoner. He's my most worthless guy, especially since I have given up the idea of sending him right. So he's just going to go into the center and basically be an opportunist. See if he can't sit on an objective when nobody's looking. So my opponent takes an activation, and he goes and activates Shadow. So Shadow just casually saunters up and claims the medical supplies, and there's just not a whole lot I can do about it. He's going to actually crouch too, because he's got counters to spend. So I have to activate somebody, and these guys are all important. Like I said, this crew kind of works together, so I really would like to just hold them all back, but I can't. I have to activate somebody, so I'm going to throw Bodyguard Prisoner forward. I would have liked to have saved him to get him in there and use that cool generator later on, but I can't. So he's just going to walk forward and look menacing. My opponent is going to activate Ki way over on the left-hand side of the board. Ki is going to move to my Titan container, which is a little bit of a problem, and he is going to shoot at Killer Frost. He is going to hit Killer Frost, which is kind of a drag, but I don't want to take that damage because I've been in a situation where Killer Frost takes damage early, and it really isn't good for her. So I'm going to spend 2 of my movement counters to dodge that. I do successfully do that, but it really is going to restrict how far forward she moves in this first turn, which I'm sure is what my opponent really wanted. So it's my next activation, and Captain Cold just moves up a little bit. His Ichi advances forward and crouches behind the entryway to the Joker's Wild. So it's getting to some important stuff, so I go and I use my pass, and my opponent goes and activates Goro. Goro just walks slowly over to the ammo, claims that, and crouches. So I'm going to activate Killer Frost. Killer Frost is going to move up in front of that car there. She is going to target Ki. Doesn't like getting shot at very much, so she's going to use the stop rule on him, and she's going to throw her ice daggers. Now, Killer Frost gets really lucky here. She manages to hit, and I believe crit with both of her ice daggers. So that's actually going to KO Ki right away, so that kind of helps. So good job, Killer Frost. The big man himself, Ra's al Ghul, advances forward and crouches behind that pillar. And then I activate Heatwave, and I blow it here. I I mismeasure something. I had something in mind and it didn't work. I thought that this was a round that I could use the teamwork for him to draw a couple of Captain Cold's spare movement counters and really just charge far forward and roast Ra's al Ghul right off the bat. Well, I mismeasure, or I do my math wrong somehow, and I can't make it that far. And the bad news about all that is that's not such a big deal. He advances forward a little bit, but the big thing is that I make it super obvious. I take this long distance, and I'm looking around, and my opponent says, "What's going on there?" And I said, "I'm using my my teamwork to use more movement counters to get really far forward." And then I find out that I can't do it. And I think, oh man, because that was kind of an ace in the hole. I wanted to keep that a little secret and surprise him. Maybe a couple of his guys bunch up thinking that Heatwave is too far away, but I blow it and I sort of reveal my mindset here, and I think I pay for it in a little bit. So anyway, I just have him move forward as you see right there. So he is going to activate Seeker. Seeker is going to go. He's going to guard my ammo. That's a good place for a guy with a ranged weapon to be, right on the ammo. And he's going to take a shot on the move using good aim at my bodyguard prisoner. He is going to hit, but thankfully he does not damage. So bodyguard prisoner is going to take a single stun from that, just a scratch. So then I'm going to activate Firefly. Firefly doesn't particularly want to jump into the middle of a bunch of League of Assassins guys, because I know this guy can get taken out reasonably easy. He does have the Kevlar vest and all that, but at Endurance 6 and Defense 3, he's not exactly a tank. So I'm just going to have him move forward a little bit, and you know what? I'm not too worried about my ammo. There's lots of ammos lying around. I am going to take a shot at Key while he is unconscious on the ground. I am going to hose him down with fire. That's going to cause a blood and 2 stun, which, you know, it gives him an extra blood, which is nice. The stun doesn't matter since he's already unconscious, but it is going to light him on fire, and so he is going to slowly burn to death. Which is fun. Is it the best use of that guy right now? Maybe not, but, you know, I want to burn up some ninjas. And of course, he does spend the extra special to hover, so that if anyone gets a little ambitious and wants to charge out and try and slash him up at the end of this round, then they're going to have a harder time doing that. My opponent doesn't want me claiming any of my objectives this round. Here we have Ying moving into contact with my medical supplies. So now he is contesting all of my objectives, so it's going to be real hard for me to score any points from objectives at the end of this. But I'm going to try. This is the moment for Little Spark's glory. He is equipped with a grapple gun. I don't know if I mentioned that before, so I'm going to rush forward. And I'm going to try and throw a whole bunch of those handy attacks at Ying. I'm going to try and knock him unconscious so that I can claim those meds. But honestly, Little Spark blows it. He doesn't get a single point of damage through. Ying is just fine. He is in the middle of a bunch of ninjas, so that's not fantastic. Here we have Yang charging forward onto my side of the table now. Yang mercilessly executes that poor lamppost that was minding its own business. And here we have the end of the round with Ichi slowly burning to death. I'm not going to get any of my objectives this round. He is going to claim 2 of his objectives, and he is also going to get the bonus victory points for being the first to claim 2 victory points at the end of a single round, which is really going to hurt. I think one of my objectives has an objective trap on it too. I think you might have spent some strategy points on that. But anyway, this is not a great start. Things are not looking good. I need to really cause some damage pretty soon in order to claw my way back. So it's a new round, and my opponent takes the lead again, which absolutely does not help. So he is going to activate Yang. Yang is right there in front of Heatwave, and now that I've helpfully told my opponent what Heatwave is capable of, he doesn't really care for him getting an activation. So Yang is going to charge straight forward and go for Heatwave. Yang has a fair number of attacks, and he gets bonus attacks for combo, so I think he's going to throw 3 attacks at poor Heatwave. He's going to hit all 3 times, which is terrible. But again, we're going to use that teamwork, which I have, which is really handy. So Heatwave has 2 defense counters, and Captain Cold has a couple defense counters too, and I can borrow 2 of those because Heatwave is teamwork 2, Captain Cold. So I get 4 defense dice to throw against Yang, and I miss every single one of them. I think his attack might be attack 4, so I need a 4+, but I don't get a single block, and so all of those hits go through. No problem, he's strength 5, it is sharp. He gets all 3 hits to go through, so either on the first roll or on the rerolls, he gets all those 5s, and he gets a crit double 6. So Heatwave takes 6 blood, 1 stun, and a knockdown, and that was a really good set of dice for my opponent and a really bad set of dice for me. That really hurts. Heatwave is sturdy, but I still have to lose 2 dice from his card. So the tragedy there is that I don't have enough dice to both stand up and shoot. I think at the end of this, I'm only going to have 2 counters left, and so I'm going to have to burn one of them in order just to stand up. So Heatwave gets no fire thrower this round. That's pretty disappointing. So back to my activation, and I am on the back foot, so I need to make something happen. Unfortunately, I'm kind of in defense mode right now. I want to try to prevent more damage from coming in, as opposed to me trying to get off a finishing blow on one of these ninjas or anything. Because again, my guys don't do that. They don't rush in and cause all the damage at once. It's kind of like a slow nickel and dime kind of thing. So I've got to go in there. I've got to activate Bodyguard Prisoner. Bodyguard Prisoner is going to go to his Titan. He's going to control that. See how my opponent likes it. And I am going to use the cool generator on Ra's al Ghul, try and keep him away from my guys. So Ra's al Ghul is stopped, can't use movement counters, and he has a -1 defense. So Ra's al Ghul now has some limited options, so he's just going to creep over a little bit. I'll bet you anything he goes and uses Inspire. My opponent is real careful about all my flamethrowers. He's definitely trying to leave everybody with a movement counter, so that if I set them on fire, they can put out the fire later on. Ra's also manages to just absolutely destroy this lamppost on his way. So I'm going to give Little Spark another chance at glory. Little Spark is going to take that stun baton, and he is going to try again to try and beat up Ying over here. So he does a little bit better this round. I've got a lot of attacks though. I think I've got like 5 attacks that I can throw at this thing. But I only managed to get two hits through, so that's going to be 4 stun. I do get a knockdown, which is nice, and but that's not going to knock him unconscious, so I'm going to creep Little Spark over to the other side of the meds so that if he wants to come chase me, he's got to commit a little bit more. So Ying didn't really care for that, so he's going to get up off the ground, he's going to walk over to Little Spark, and he's going to try and cut him down with his katana. He does okay, he's going to get 2 blood through. So I'm going to activate Killer Frost next. Killer Frost can't use her ice daggers because it takes time to reload, so I'm going to have her come in and I'm going to try and start picking off ninjas. I'm going to move her in contact with Ying. I'm going to go and attack him, and I do pretty well. I put 2 blood and 2 stun on that guy. I also used the stop rule on Seeker, who is over there on the right. He's the guy with the bow and arrow right by my ammo crate. And so yeah, I believe that is going to KO Mr. Ying. So now Ichi is going to swoop in and try and rescue this situation, so he is going to move into contact with Little Spark, which means that I am no longer controlling that objective. He's also in base contact with the objective, so yeah, that's all that. He's going to put another 2 blood on Little Spark. Little Spark is hanging in there, but he only has 1 endurance left, so he is definitely looking hurt. Seeker decides that he doesn't really like Bodyguard hanging out there and using his freeze ray on his boss, so he's going to fire an arrow at Bodyguard Prisoner again. He's going to hit this time. He's going to do 2 blood, and he's also going to get that crit for an extra stun. So Heatwave does not have a lot that he can do right now, so he's just going to get up off the ground because that's not where he wants to be, and he's just going to back away a little bit from Yang because that definitely hurt, and he needs a little bit more time to get that flamethrower going. The bad news is that puts him in range of Goro's grapple gun. I'm not sure if Goro couldn't have still done this where Heatwave was, but either way, Goro rockets over. He's going to go and he's going to abandon the objective that he was minding, and he's going to start doing some damage. He does not want that flamethrower going in the later rounds. So Goro activates the grapple gun. He charges over, and my opponent has a choice here. He can be in contact with both Captain Cold and Heatwave, and he can try and finish off Heatwave and maybe even throw an attack or 2 against Captain Cold. The thing is, Goro has the duelist ability, which means that he can re-roll his to-hit rolls so long as he's only in contact with 1 guy. So he can be in contact with both of us, and he can interrupt Captain Cold's ranged attack, but he's going to take a little bit of a chance. It's possible that he bombs his rolls, and Heatwave does just fine. Now again, I think Heatwave only has 1 endurance left, so it's pretty likely he's going to get him one way or the other, but my opponent goes for the safer route. He goes and he moves just in contact with Heatwave, so with all Goro's attacks and with the rerolls on everything, yeah, Goro finishes off Heatwave. Heatwave is off the table. There goes one of my flamethrowers. flamethrowers. There goes an expensive free agent. That's no good, but we'll see what we can make of it. And what we're going to try and make of it is Firefly time. Firefly, his time to shine. He's going to move over into contact with that ammo crate, and he is going to throw fire at the stopped Roz and the stopped Seeker. So neither of those guys can use their movement counters to put out the fire, so I'm going to look, I'm hoping to get some nice damage on both those guys, but it doesn't really happen. I failed to wound on both of those guys. Need a 3+, couldn't get either of them. So they both take a single stun and a single fire counter. So they're going to take a blood at the end of the round, and they're going to get another fire counter, but it could have been better. The good news is that I think he can still draw an extra ammo, so he's still up, he still can use his fire thrower next round. Shadow decides that he doesn't want to guard the meds anymore, he wants to guard the ammo. Honestly, I think my opponent is looking to sneak this guy a little further forward and possibly have this guy use his smoke grenade on Captain Cold in a later round. So anyway, that's the thinking there. He's just going to get a little bit further forward and see if he can't get into the fight if the need arises. But either way, he's still minding an objective that's worth 3 victory points around. It's Captain Cold's turn. Captain Cold sees Yang and what he did to poor Heatwave, and he's not real happy about that. I mean, he's pretty emotionless all the time, but this one's kind of annoyed him, so he's going to fire off 2 shots at Yang. He's going to do 2 blood and a stun, so either he failed to wound with the second shot, or and he got just a scratch. Or I got a 6 crit. Either way, blood and stun for Yang. That's not really, that's not as much damage as I need that guy to have. And I move away from Goro and closer towards the action. And Pipe Prisoner does not want any of this, so he is just going to bear left a little bit. He's just going to try and be a body claiming an objective in later turns and hope that nobody notices him. So it is a new round, and we go to the Bag of Destiny, and sort of as payback for the Kublai Khan game, I believe my opponent for the 3rd round in a row gets to take the lead. So he's going to take the lead, he's going to activate Ra's al Ghul, and he's going to go up to Firefly and go and solve that guy. Now, Ra's al Ghul kind of gets a big whiff here, so he's got lots of attacks, he's got weapon mastery, he shouldn't have any problem here, but I think he just doesn't roll really well at all. So he only gets 1 hit through, so he'd normally do 2 blood, but because Firefly has a Kevlar vest, that goes down to 1 blood. He does get a knockdown on Firefly, but that is nowhere near the damage that we expected Ra's to do. So I'm immediately going to try and capitalize on my luck. I can't have Firefly just sitting there with my 1 remaining fire thrower just on the ground waiting for a ninja to put a sword in him. So I'm going to activate him next. He's just going to creep a little bit over, and he is just going to throw a jet of flame straight down the League of Assassins line. So this is a really nice shot. I'm really excited about this. Unfortunately, I don't roll really well again. Ra's al Ghul would have put out all his fire counters in the round before, so he's doing just fine there. But otherwise, I fail to wound Seeker again, so he's just going to take a single stun and another fire counter. I failed to wound Yang, so same thing as before. I do wound Ra's, so he takes a blood and a stun, and I do have an extra special counter, so I'm going to activate Hover, so he's relatively safe from some of those katanas. But you know, I was hoping for a little bit more. These ninjas do not have a lot of endurance, but they're slowly getting picked away, but they are still hanging on. But since I activated Firefly, that means that my opponent now has a turn, and he is going to activate Goro. Goro is going to charge in, and he is pretty confident that he is just going to execute Captain Cold. But Captain Cold, he knows how to plan these heists, and he saw this coming a mile away. He has stacked 4 defense counters. He does not want to get hit with that big nasty sword. He's also defense 4, so even though Goro's got rerolls to hit, when it all shakes out, Captain Cold takes no damage from this, and I am, couldn't be happier. So then it's over to me, and I am going to activate Little Spark again. Little Spark is going to throw as many attacks as he can into Ichi. He does put 4 stun on him, which is a good start, but that guy is still up and running. And I am going to use a Let's Go. I think it's very possible that after Goro activated, my opponent tried to use a Let's Go to really pile on the hurt on my guys, but I think he failed the roll. So I thought, hey, let's go. That sounds like a pretty good idea. I've got a spare special counter on Bodyguard. I'm going to use him. He is just going to use his cool generator on Seeker. Seeker has not used a movement counter to put out his fire yet, so I kind of want that guy dead. So I'm going to stop him, and hopefully he burns in pain. Yang comes up, and Yang is going to finish off the job that Goro attempted at and failed. He's going to throw a bunch of attacks at Captain Cold now that he is out of defense dice, but he doesn't do fantastically. He gets some hits in, but now the dice go cold for Yang. He's not able to get any wounding hit through. He does get a knockdown, so Captain Cold is knocked down and surrounded by some very angry League of Assassins guys, but he hasn't taken any damage yet. Killer Frost is going to activate next. She is probably going to use her stop on Ra's al Ghul in case he hasn't used his movement counters, if he had any remaining to put out his fire counters, so hopefully he takes more damage. Ra's is actually getting chipped away here, which is nice, and she is going to go and finish off Seeker. Unfortunately, she blows it and does not manage to do the extra damage it takes to put that guy under. Shadow decides he doesn't really want to be part of that party at all. He decides that his smoke bomb is best saved, so he's going to move back to the meds. Captain Cold is going to activate, and yeah, wouldn't you know it, because he's got a willpower of 6, he's got 6 dice, I put 4 in defense, and because of that stupid knockdown, I have to spend, I've only got 2 counters left on attack, which is what I need for my ranged attack, and I have to spend 1 of them to stand up, so Captain Cold doesn't get to shoot this round. Those knockdowns can really be a pain. And Pipe Prisoner is still looking for his opportunity. That opportunity is not going to come. He's going to move left, looking for an objective that he can claim. He's not going to get it, and he's not going to get it at all because the game is over. So the round has ended. We've run out of time. Again, my apologies to my opponent because that was my mistake that kind of compressed things. I don't know if we would have been able to fit in a whole nother turn if I had put my terrain out correctly, but that's what happened. If the game had gone on, so obviously this is a loss for me. It wasn't a complete crushing. I don't think you got the full 15 extra victory points that you need to deny me any victory points at all. So I lost, but it wasn't as bad as perhaps it could have been. If the game had continued, it might have been kind of interesting. I did have some, I still had Firefly running around. I should, at this point, start taking the lead, and I put a lot of damage on those ninjas. I think that Key had already burned to death. I think Seeker was well on his way to doing so, and most of his ninjas only had like a health or 2 left. So I was pretty confident I could start sweeping up those, and even Roz had been taking some damage. So the big question, though, is that he had Goro charging around doing a lot of damage. So it is very possible that Goro could have come in, and him and Roz could have stomped on Firefly or Captain Cold and really started rocketing up the victory point. So it was a question as to who was going to come out on top in that middle area, and I think there's a lot of room for luck to play a big part and swing the game one way or the other. Now, the way it was right now is my opponent was definitely ahead. He was definitely winning. The way things were trending is that it was going to be a League of Assassins victory. So good job. It's nice for him to come by and participate. It's a long drive. And of course, he was happy that he got his vengeance from the last time that we played. So yeah, that's the game. Leave a comment below if you have any questions or concerns or anything like that. Round 2 hopefully will come up before too long, and I will see you on the next one.